Alright guys, so this is the first page in the review. The first three problems are multiplying binomials, where you start with the first one, multiply it times the first one in the second parentheses. 9 times 3, 9x times 3x is 27x squared. Then it's 9x times negative 5, 9 times negative 5 is 45, and then you write the x. Then we go to 10 times 3, so positive 30x, and then 10 times negative 5, negative 50. The middle two terms will combine, but the first one won't, and the last one won't. So together, negative 45 and 30, they're different signs, so you subtract and keep the sign of the larger one, which is 45, and it's negative, so negative 15 after you subtract. Next one, x times x is x squared. Maddie, please stop. X times x is x squared. X times negative 6, negative 6x. Then we move on to the next term. 6 times x is positive 6x, and 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. The middle two terms, negative 6 and 6, will cancel out. So we'll be left with x squared minus 36. Because 6 minus 6, or negative 6 plus 6, will be 0. Then on the next one, you have x plus 3 squared. That means you're going to write it twice, and then you're going to multiply them, or do FOIL or rainbow, however you want to call it. That's x times x is x squared, x times 3, 3x, and 3 times x, 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9. Middle two terms will combine to give me 6x, because 3 plus 3 is 6, and bring down that plus 9. The next two are factoring. The first one has a leading coefficient of 1, so we only have to worry about the last number, and we will factor out that last number. So 21, the factors of 21 are 1 and 21, and 3 and 9. So 1 times 21, 7 and 3 and 7, So we pick the one that adds or subtracts to give me the middle term. The middle term is 4. So 7 minus 3 will give me 4, so that's going to be our factors. X and 3, x and 7, and I want it to be a positive 4, so the 7 will be positive, the 3 will be negative, so when I multiply them, I still get a negative 21, but when I combine them, I get a positive 4 and not a negative 4. If the signs are switched, then I would get a negative 4. So we don't want it, we want a positive. Alright, the next one, you have a leading coefficient of 4, so that one you have to multiply times the last one, which will give me a 32. Then we do the factors of 32. 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 3 and, no, is it 3? No, 4 and 8. Alright, and then I want the one that will give me a 33 when I add them or subtract them, so that's 1 and 32. So that's x1, x32. Since they're all positive, then I don't have to worry about the signs, just make them positive. But since I multiplied that 4 in, I have to now divide it out. This second one simplifies to give me an 8, so that's the factor of that one. But the first one does not. I cannot get a whole number, it's the fourth. So that's when we do bottoms up. So you put that 4 in front of the x, and you leave that as a 1. So those are our factors for that one. I'm going to move it up. Alright, the next one is simplifying variables with exponents. So we have 144 divided by 12. That's just numbers, so just divide them normal. Right? 144 divided by 12 is 12. Then I have x to the 26 and x to the 10. When I divide variables, I subtract their exponents. So 26 minus 10, 16. Then we have y to the 3, negative 3, and y to the 2. Well, negative 3 minus 2, that's same signs adding. Keep different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the larger one, and that'll be exact. So that's going to give me a negative 5, right? Same signs add. Sorry, that's a y. And keep the sign of the negative, so negative 5. And then we have z to the 9 and z to the nothing, so it's a 1. And we just subtract 9 minus 1, 8. Almost done, but your answers will not have negative exponents. So you rewrite this. Whatever is negative will move to the bottom. Oh, sorry, I totally messed up there. My bad. So, negative 5, we have y to the negative 3 and then y to the 2. And we subtract them. That's how I get a negative 5. All right. X to the 16 is positive. Z to the 8 is positive. Y to the 5 is negative. So that's the only one that moves down. Once you move it down, you make it positive. That's our answer. On this next one, you're multiplying two fractions. But it's easier if you simplify the fractions first before you multiply. It actually doesn't matter which way you do it, but I think it's easier this way. So we're going to simplify the first one. 30 divided by 2, 15. I have x to the 6 and x to the 8, so we subtract them and I get a negative 2. Then y to the 2 and y to the 1, I subtract them and get a y to the 1. Why? Because it's 6 minus 8 is 2. Negative 2. 2 minus 1 is just 1. That's the first fraction. Second fraction, 6 just stays a 6. I have x to the nothing, so it's to the 1. And x to the 5 on the bottom, 1 minus 5, negative 4. Then here I have y to the 11, but it has a 4 outside the parentheses. I have to do that first. When I have a power raised to another power, you multiply them. And then I can divide it by that y to the 4 that's in the bottom. Well, when I divide, we subtract, so that's going to be y to the 40. Right? 44 minus 4 is 40. Alright, then I can multiply them. 15 times 6 is 90. And when I multiply the variables, what do I do with their exponents? Add. So I have negative 2 and negative 4 will give me negative 6. Y to the 1 and y to the 40, y to the 41. Now don't leave it like that. Whatever is negative has to move down. Whatever is positive stays top. But this only applies if it has negative exponent. If it's a negative number or coefficient, that one stays where it's at. It's just whatever is negative goes down, and then you make it positive. This is our answer. Alright, simplifying a radical. We have the square root of 32. You would break down 32 into its factors. 2 times 16 is 32. 4 times 8 is 32. And you would pick the one that has the biggest square number, perfect square number. Well, 4 is a perfect square number, but so is 16. So you pick 16 because 16 is bigger. So 16 times 2 will break down 32. And you square root, only 16 has a square root, the 2 does not, so it stays in. Do not leave the square root if you've already square rooted. So 16 was square rooted, I put 4, not the square root of 4 anymore. I'm seeing your homework. You're doing something wrong. Just careful, once you square root, it comes out of the square root, and if it cannot be square rooted, you leave it under the square root or the radical. 243, I don't remember what 243 is. Divide 2. You would divide 243 by 2, by 3. 3 times what? 3 times 81? Alright, and actually you don't have to go any further. Thank you. 81 is a perfect square number and it's very big. And that's the one that's going to be. So we're going to do 81 times 3, square root. And then the square root of 81 is 9. And 3 does not have a square root, so it stays. Same thing on for 75, the square root is 75. This one, you can break it down to 3/4, right? 3/25. 25 has a square root, so square root of 25 is 5, but 3 does not, so it stays inside the radical. Alright, next, domain and range. So domain is from left to right. Range is bottom to top. And I have those posters up here so you can always see them. They're going domain There's an arrow to the left and an arrow to the right. So here, this graph goes all the way to the left side. Here, that's where it stops. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's -6. So our domain is -6. Domain is always x, so don't forget the x. And then to the right, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7, but this one is an open circle, this one's a closed circle, so in the closed circle, put the equal to. Then let's do the range. Range will be bottom to top. So this graph, this line goes all the way to here, and that's a -3 on the y. So negative range, -3. With your inequality signs. And then to the, how high does it go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 also. So 7, and again 7 has a closed circle. So you put the equal to. Left to right, bottom to top. If you always go that way, your inequalities will always open to the right because you're going minimum to maximum. So here we go -3 on the right and 7 on, -3 on the left. So -3 for our domain, and we go +7 for our to the right. They're both closed circles, and they're almost always going to be closed circles, so they almost always will have the equal to. Copy it. And we do range, bottom to top. This graph goes to a 3 and 7. So 3 less than or equal to y, less than or equal to 7. Oh no, it's not 7. I think it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this goes all the way to 8. All right. Got it? Copy it?
See it now.
Hmm?
I'm really bad, I'm sorry.
There you are. All right, this next part, a lot of people are having a hard time, but it's actually very easy. Let me zoom in. Oh, I think I went too far. Once I explain it or remind them how to do it, they get it. I can move it up, but you'll have to copy it from down here. If it's inside the parentheses, they're giving you the x. So all you gotta go is look at the equation, the one on the right side, and then just put wherever x is, a 3, the number that's inside the parentheses. But what's 6 times 3? 18. 18 minus 9? 9. So that's our answer. So same thing over here. Wherever x is whatever number they give you inside the parentheses. They're giving you a -2. And if you're not good with numbers, guys, just plug that into the calculator exactly the way it is. -3 parentheses 2, -2 plus 7, close parentheses minus 2, and you get -17. Just put in the calculator. If you're going to do it by hand, that's -3 times. This will be a +5. And then -3 times 5 is -15, minus 2 is -17. Alright, let's go to page 2 of the review. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, copy it, copy it. Now everybody got it? Everybody? Yes, okay, good, thank you. Alright, next time, I will guarantee you that one of these is on the test, maybe 2 of them, where they're asking you for the area. Area is length times width. Our dimensions on the first 2 are given to us as a binomial. So when I multiply them, make sure you put parentheses, and you FOIL or do the rainbow method. 7x times 2x is 14x squared. 7 times -2 is -14x. Then you move on to the next term, 3. 3 times 2x is +6x, and 3 times -2 is -6. The middle 2 terms will combine. So my answer is, I don't know where to write it. I'm going to change colors and write it here. I'm going to write it here. 14x squared minus 12x minus 6. Alright, On the next one, if they're only giving you one dimension, you can assume it's a square. So this is x plus 5, then this is x plus 5, and we do the same thing. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is positive 5x. Then 5 times x is positive 5x, and 5 times 5 is 25. Middle two terms will combine to give me 10x, and that's all you can combine, so you're done. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. It's not a 12. You're right. It's an 8. Negative 8. Thank you. All right. Last one that will be on the test for sure is that circle. Area of a circle is pi r squared. So our radius is this. So you can either do pi 3x to the 7, y to the 5. Oops. And there's not a lot of room there. Raised to the 2. But when I have a power to a power, that's going to be pi 3 to the second x to the, remember you multiply them. So x to the 14 and y to the 5 because that's 2 times 7 and 2 times 5. Then you don't leave 3 like that. You do 3 squared. So that's pi times 9, right? Because 3 squared is 9. Okay. That's one way of doing it. The other way that some of my students did this problem is, since they knew it had to be squared, what they did, please stop talking, is they multiplied it times itself twice. Okay? So it would still be the same thing. 3 times 3 is 9. X to the 7 and x to the 7 would be x to the 14. And x to the 5 and x to the 5. Oops. Why did I put 5? It's 10, right? Because we have to multiply. Thank you, Dante. Well, say it.
No, I was going to say after 25.
Oh, sorry. I thought. Oh, I couldn't. Sorry, I thought it was just somebody talking. Sorry. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. So this is the answer. Soraya. Whatever you're whispering over there. All right.
Hey, why did you put it back?
Oh my god.
Well, this is the same thing. I just showed you a different way of doing it. How some people. Yes, copy it fast. 9x to the 14 and y to the 10.
Is this going to be a Google Classroom?
Yes. All right, number 4. You factor out 2. Well, 2 only has 2 factors. 1 and 2. And since they're all addition, just plus. 14, you need 2 factors. 2 factors of 14 that add or subtract to give you to give you 9. So it's going to be 2 and 14, no, 2 and 7, excuse me. 2 times 7 is 14, 2 plus 7 is 9. And then since they have to multiply to give you a positive 14, Eliza, sit down. And they add to give us a negative 9. Alright, for the sake of time, well, I'm just going to do it. Factors here would be 8. Let me change colors. So 2 numbers that multiply to give you 56 and add to give you a negative 1 or subtract. That's going to be 7 and 8. And the negative 1 has to be 8. So when I combine them, I get a negative 1. Number 7, you have to multiply that 7 times, actually look at number 7. All of these are divisible by 3. So we're going to factor out a 3 first. So I'm going to do it down here. You're going to factor out a 3. So that's 3x squared. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 54 divided by 3 is 18. So now that I factor out a 3, then I just worry about the 18. Factors of 18, they'll give me 7. So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. And actually, it'll be 2 and 9, right? 2 and 9, 2, 9. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. The 9 has to be the positive one, so when I combine them, I get a positive 7. All right, division of fractions. Again, I feel like we've done a lot of these. Yeah. I just want to do the video so you guys are done. Let's do 11 and 12. I'll come back. Oh, the square root of 121 is 11.
I can't. Not like the store, but
The square root of 40, you break down 40 to 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and 8 times 5. And then you pick the one that has the biggest perfect square number. There's only one, the 4. So 4 times 10, square root, so it's 2 square roots of 10. Let me do the 8. 18 divided by 4, they both simplify by 2, so that's 9 over 2, 9 halves. You subtract the variables, the exponents, so that's x to the negative 5. Careful with that y, that's a negative 7 minus a 4, so that's negative 11. And then you have z to the 1 is z to the negative 5, so you're going to have 1 minus a negative 5. That's going to change to plus 5 because you have minus a negative. That's going to be 6. Then whatever's negative, you move to the bottom with the 2. And whatever's positive stays on the top with the 9. Once you move it down, you make it positive. On 9, when you have power to a power, that 3 is being raised to a 2, and you multiply their exponents, a to the 12, y to the 6. Don't leave the 3 like that. That's going to be 9, a 12, y 6. Really, Jose? Alright, on 10, you have parentheses, but there's no exponent outside, so it's all multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10. A to the 1 and a to the 7, you add their exponents. B to the 3 and b to the 2 is b to the 5. Oops, sorry, I forgot the other one. We have an a to the 1 and b to the 1 over here, so that's a to the 9 and b to the 6. You just add all the exponents when you multiply their variables. What's 567 broken down? Has anybody done that one? 567, the factors of 567? Okay, so we would do 567 divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4, and doing this burger. Move fast, I can't get it. Has anybody got in it? Divided by 6, divided by 7. Okay, if you divide by 7, it's 7 times 81. Well, 81 has a square root, 7 does not. So square root of 81 is 9. That square root of 7 stays inside, and that looks very ugly. Okay, so that was a 7. Okay. And then you just square root 81, and 7 stays. Number 14, the square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 25 is 5. So it's 1 over 25. Number 15, domain and range. Domain again is left to right. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 4. Closed circle, so put an equal to. All the way to 1, 2, 3. And that's open circle, so you leave it like that. Then range is bottom to top. We go all the way down to a negative 4. And it's a closed circle. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes all the way up to a 5. 16 is function notation again. So in place of the x, you put what's inside the parentheses, a negative 5. And you can just put in the calculator and add them, or do it by hand. So that's 8 times negative 17 plus 17. And I don't know what 8 times negative 17 is, and I can take the calculator. Negative what? Negative 136? 136? Thank you. and then you just add the 17. So negative 119. Alright, 17 again multiply. That'll be 2x squared. X times negative 10x. 6 times 2 is 12, so 12x. And 6 times negative 10, negative 60. Combine like terms, which are the middle two, which gives me a positive 2x minus 60. Alright, finally, page 3, after 25 minutes.
No,
oh, sorry. Let me go back there. Copy it.
Someone drew the no-nos on my calculator. It's been there since I got here. It's been there. Somebody erase it? Okay.
Now can you go to the next page?
It's all slippery, miss. When she said the message, I'm gonna go on the YouTube video. And I'm just gonna record every little thing.
Alright, last page.
We're gonna have you walking.
Alright, it says which expression is equivalent to negative 128? Okay, so we've already done a few of these, so I'm not going to show you how to do it by hand.